Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks for joining us for our Wednesday weather update recorded on July the 19th. And we've got a messy weather forecast coming in for New Zealand in particular. Australia seems a little bit more straightforward, but New Zealand's weather pattern gets messy this weekend. It's all due to a low pressure zone. It's this one here. This low pressure zone is going to track up to the north of New Zealand, over to the east, back down, and then it may even start to move back into the North Island this weekend. So it's a complicated system, and these large lows often are. The windy weather is in one area, so if the next day the modelling moves the low a little bit this way, then all that wind moves with it, and so the forecast can chop and change a bit, and I think we're going to see that. So we'll try and break it down for you to show you at least where we think most of the wind and rain will be. At the moment, high pressure to the north is encouraging this mild airflow across the country. Honestly, this is probably the warmest winter New Zealand's ever had. We will see at the end of winter. We're only halfway through it. Still got another several weeks to go. But this system here is going to bring in a brief cold southerly to the south. We talked about that snow yesterday, but it's short-lived. And there's also high pressure behind it. And here's the next cold front that's moving towards Adelaide. So let's get into the rainfall first of all. We've got two rainfall maps for you, both 24 hours each one. The first one starts tomorrow morning, Thursday at 7 a.m, going through to Friday, 7 a.m. Heaviest rain in the red here, around about 30 to about 45 millimetres coming through. Most of that is in the far north and Northland and Coromandel Peninsula. Auckland, right on the borderline of it. So northern areas will get heavier falls, southern parts of Auckland won't get quite as much. And then everybody else sort of in that lower part of the scale. As we go through to the next 24 hours from Friday 7 o'clock in the morning to Saturday at 7 a.m. Most of the rain is over here around Gisborne and down and towards Hawke's Bay, still that 20 to sort of 40 millimetre mark. But there is more wet weather off and on for the rest of July that is going to affect eastern areas. El Nino is still forming. It's not officially with us yet. And so our weather pattern is still a neutral, chaotic one, which is why eastern areas are still getting some rain. So let's have a look at Thursday and see what is shaping up. Over in Australia, there is the cold front coming in for Adelaide. Later in the day, it'll affect Victoria and Tasmania. But there's a high pressure zone from Sydney to the lower part of New Zealand, and that's going to break down that westerly as it tries to move to New Zealand. So that allows this low here to sort of be the main feature. A little bit of wet weather for Canterbury on Thursday with an easterly, and a bit of rain later on in the far north with a developing northerly that will pick up with gales in marine areas. Now on Friday, close-up version of New Zealand shows the low is centered here, and it's a very large, messy sort of center. It's got a windy nor'easter with it, and the rain is mostly in those eastern areas from about East Cape further down to about Waited Upper, a little bit still around Canterbury and Marlborough, and we've still got some wet weather around Coromandel Peninsula and Auckland. It'll be a little bit patchy as to who has heavier falls and who just gets a few light spits, a few showers. Now into the weekend, the low starts to track back southwards again. So it went up, around, and now it's dropping back down. That pushes rain further down into Canterbury again. So actually Canterbury is leaning wetter than average along with Hawke's Bay and Gisborne for the next 7 days. And in fact, Canterbury leans wetter than average for the next week or two coming up, because we're still in this chaotic, neutral weather pattern. So the top of the country looks mostly dry on Saturday, wet weather down that eastern side and dry for western and southern areas, and the next cold front on its way for Adelaide, Melbourne and Hobart as we go through Saturday. By Sunday, that cold front is decimated, it falls apart. The low pressure zone is still stuck over New Zealand. It's still bringing in rain and easterlies to Canterbury, and now we're seeing the westerlies return to the top of the country with a few showers there for you. Nothing too major in there, but obviously any rain at the moment is being noticed. And then we kick off next week. Low pressure is still here. It is weakening though, and the next big powerful high is just over there. So it looks like a cross between an El Nino pattern developing, which is certainly the case around Australia, but in New Zealand we're still in that neutral, chaotic, anything can happen pattern, but we're noticing more and more of these windy westerlies coming into the New Zealand area, and I think we'll keep seeing that as we go through the next month or two. Our next Climate Watch update obviously coming out for the 1st of August. We'll have more details about that in that video. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow for our next weather update as we track this low pressure zone moving into New Zealand. We'll see you tomorrow.